and forgot to record. Forgot to record the training so that I couldn't share it with the ones who missed. So anyway, hopefully you all can see my screen. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here as always, and welcome to my annual update. This is something that I try to do every year to keep everybody in the loop about what's going on, not just with me and my life in general and my work at TWR, but really the ministry of TWR as a whole, because I am just one small part of it, and get to be one small part of it. And so I'm really thankful to be able to share some highlights from my role in the past year or so, year, and then also some highlight items just in general at TWR. So I'm gonna get started and kind of take us through what I'll talk through. My thing won't progress. There we go. So just want to kind of give you a breakdown of what I'm going to talk about this evening. So welcome again. Thank you for being here. So good to see all of your faces. Just last week, I was like, man, I miss my Michigan people. So it's good to see some of your faces. I'm gonna just
faces.
overview my own role and what I do, just in case there's anybody who doesn't know really what I do. And then of course, this is being recorded. So in case anybody watches it later who doesn't really understand what I do. Then we're going to have a couple of guest speakers who are going to just share briefly, and then I'll do some more highlights of what's happened over the last year, and then some prayer and praise at the end. So if you think of a question throughout about my role or about TWR in general, I'll give you an opportunity at the end if anybody has questions that they want to ask. So yeah, without further ado, I would love to pray to get us started, if that's okay. And then we will just dive right in. So let me pray for our time. Father, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for technology that allows me to connect with all these awesome people from other states. And thank you for just the people who have continued to pour into my life and support me over the past few years as I pursued ministry at TWR. And just thank you for the love and encouragement and prayer that they've constantly shown me. Thank you for just your faithfulness, Lord, in providing financially over the past few years, in the ways that you've just surprised me, and been faithful to me and to all of the people on this call, Lord. I thank you for TWR and the ministry that's happening. And I just pray that you would continue to bless the work that's going forth to the nations, to declare the excellencies of Christ and his saving power because of the cross. And so I just give you this time, Lord. I pray that it would be helpful and just encouraging and enlightening to all who listen, whether it's now live or in the future as the recording gets sent out, that you would be glorified, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Okie dokie. Well, like I said, I wanted to jump in and just share kind of an overview of what I do. My role has changed a little bit over the past almost 2 years that I've been at TWR now, but for the most part, the general gist of my job has stayed the same. So down here at the bottom, this is my title. It's super long. The U.S. Coordinator of Short-Term Programs and College Recruiting. TWR is very famous for having super long titles. So I get the honor of also having a long title. So basically what that means is I am in charge of, this is kind of the snippet that I say to people. I'm in charge of the next generation coming into TWR. So that includes one, our internship program. And I'll get into a little bit more depth about internship program and whatnot, and some of these other things. Someone's in the chat. Oh, Melise says, yes, we do have long titles. It's true. So yeah, the internship program, the Embark program, I am in charge of maintaining our relationship and our partnership with a ministry called GoCore, which I'll talk about a little bit. And then also am in charge of college recruiting. So yeah, just a little bit. I serve out of our, and I know a lot of you already know this, but just in case anybody's not familiar. I serve out of our Cary, North Carolina headquarter office, and have now been in my role for almost 2 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, so I have the opportunity to recruit and talk with and take through the application process, all of our interns that serve with us. So that's a summer internship program. And that's who some of our guest speakers are going to be here in a little bit, in a couple of minutes. Watch the time. And then our Embark program is, or I'm sorry, our internship program is typically a summer program. We occasionally have interns that serve like in the spring or fall semester, but we try to focus on the summer because that's when students aren't in school. And then we have our Embark program, which is geared towards young folks who are interested in ministry or missions, but they're not really sure and not really ready to commit to like career missions or career ministry yet. So they're just kind of getting their feet wet. So we encourage people to serve anywhere from, we say 3 to 12 months, but I say 6 to 12 months because you really can't get a good feel for things if it's less than 6 months, in my opinion. And then GoCore, like I mentioned, is a mobilization partner, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then also college recruiting. So I do a lot of going to college campuses, Christian college campuses particularly, and talking with faculty at universities, especially in the programs that we're looking for. I talk with a lot of professors who are helping their interns or their students connect with organizations or companies for internships. And then I also am interacting with students a lot and just answering their questions or potentially giving them guidance. Like if they do feel some type of calling towards missions, like, hey, you should check out taking the Perspectives course, or to go sit and talk with a pastor once a week and talk with them. So trying to just come alongside the next generation, which is a unique generation for a lot of different reasons, and sharing with them, informing them about what TWR does, because as you've probably heard me share before, a lot of young people don't know about TWR. And so the goal for me is kind of being like boots on the ground marketing and advertising it to the next generation, but also inspiring them of like, hey, you can use your degree and your academic and professional skills on the mission field, or in ministry. I think a lot of times, at least for me, when I was growing up, a missionary was someone who, they went and they were like a pastor or a church planter or an evangelist. And so it just never crossed my mind, like, hey, we can use our finance skills, or we can use our graphic design skills, or our engineering skills, and so that's what is so unique about TWR, at least to me, is that there's so many different people living out their God-given abilities within a ministry context, which is super duper encouraging for me. So yeah, that's kind of just broad scope of my role. And like I said, part of that is the internship program. And so I have invited 2 guest speakers, but I don't know if they're here yet, because I told them to log in at 7:15. So let me just give you a little bit of background.
I'm here, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I can't see you guys. So when I'm sharing my screen, thanks, Jacob, for letting me know. So I'll probably have you go first, Jacob, in just a moment. So thanks for letting me know that you're here. Yeah, so these 2 interns served with us last summer, which is crazy to think about. It's been a year since they kind of started the onboarding process with TWR. And they both served overseas, but I'll let them share where they were and what they did. And so similar to what I did last year is I've just invited them to share a little bit about who they are, what they're studying, where they're going to school, how they heard about TWR. Last year we had 9 interns total, so this is just a sampling of them. But these 2 in particular were really standout interns and are solid and faithful walking with the Lord. And so I just wanted to give them the opportunity. So I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen now so that I can see Jacob's face. And then once we're done with our guest speakers, we'll continue on with the presentation. So yeah, wow, there's so many people here. This is fun. Hey, Jacob, thanks for being here. Super, super glad to see you. It's been a minute. But yeah, welcome. These are a lot of my ministry partners. And this is something that I do every year, like I mentioned. So I know I sent you some questions already, but would love for you to just share with these folks what God's been doing in your life and how he led you to TWR and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, like Jennifer said, I'm Jacob Vogelpohl. I go to Morehead State University, which is in Eastern Kentucky. I'm originally from Northern Kentucky. I'm studying computer science and computer engineering there. And I heard about TWR because a group called the Traveling Team came to a campus ministry, the BCM on campus, and what they do is they go around to a bunch of college campuses and give a spiel about the Great Commission and going on mission, and that had been something that had been brought to my attention through a book that I was reading called The Fuel and the Flame. And it's a book specifically written for college students. But one of the things it talked about was how you have as a college student, you have so much freedom in summer to choose something to do, and you have that freedom to give your summer completely up to God. And that was something that was put on my heart. So I was thinking about that, but sort of my parents were also pressuring me into getting an internship, so that way I could get the next step up and put something on my resume for when I eventually go out into the real world. But then the Traveling Team came, and I just decided to follow up with them, and they're like, well, your circumstance sounds pretty cool because there's actually missionary opportunities for engineering interns. And I was like, really? And then they pointed me in the direction of TWR. So I reached out to them. And next thing I knew, I was on my way to South Africa. I was serving with Stephen Murray on the technical service team over there. So my major is computer programming and computer engineering, but when I was doing my internship, I honestly got a more high level view of the managing of engineering assets that we had between the radio transmitters and the antennas and the playout systems and all the equipment that goes into it. So as far as experience wise, that was something that opened my eyes to the idea that engineering isn't just about fixing little things here and there, but it involves the whole perspective and managing and maintaining the technology, so that way we can get the most out of it over time. And also some of the projects that I worked on were creating the quality and reliability plans for some of the technology, helped use some of the IT resources like SharePoint to organize all the engineering information, because it was sort of scattered throughout all the different servers and the online and everywhere, trying to consolidate that into a more useful place. I also worked with the global remote monitoring system, which is these devices that are placed around the world so TWR can actually monitor the quality of their broadcasts and if they are, the correct quality for where the location that they're supposed to be reaching. And then I helped write some computer code to scrape through the transmitter data logs, and then eventually we'll use that data. And I think they started this after I had completed the project, but they're going to use that data and analyze the data and see how the transmitters are performing over time. So yeah, one of the things that Jennifer was just talking about is how I guess I never really considered the idea that engineering skills can be used directly for the glory of God, on a mission setting. And one of the things I learned is that these engineers that I was working with, for some reason, I don't know why, but I expected it to be watered down, but these guys were just like geniuses, like super smart. Like I got to attend some of the engineering conference meetings and just hearing them talk about all their ideas and asking questions to each other. I was like, wow, like these are just regular engineers, but they just happen to be Christians, like work serving in the Great Commission. Um, and so, yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And one of the things Jennifer asked us to also talk about was how we're continuing to be a part of the Great Commission. And on my college campus, I see I'm on the cross country and track team here. And I see that as my mission field while I'm on campus, like reaching out to my teammates. I've been discipling one of my teammates who gave his life to Christ last year. And we've seen another give his life to Christ this semester. So it's been really cool to see how God is moving on our team. And then through Athletes in Action, which is similar to Fellowship of Christian Athletes on our campus, has had a lot of momentum this semester. And next year, I decided that I'm going to keep staying in the dorms one last year, even though I'm going to be a senior, but just to live among the freshmen and get to meet them and, be closer to them. That was also talked about in the book I read, The Fuel and the Flame, the opportunity of just living with the people you're trying to minister to. And then this summer, my girlfriend is actually going on mission the whole summer to Rome. She's serving with Greater European Missions, so I get to support her in prayer through that. So that's another exciting thing in my life. So,
yeah, that's so cool. I feel like I get this, like, all the interns call me Aunt Jennifer, like as a joke, at least the first summer. And I just have like this proud, like aunt-like heart towards our interns. So Jacob, I am super thankful for you and just the way that God's been continuing to work in your life and how he's using you. I know Zoe had texted me and said she was having some struggles getting logged into Zoom and it's making her update. Oh, she's here. Okay, awesome. Really quick though, before we talk to Zoe, Jacob, will you share maybe just some non-work related things that you did in South Africa, like some cool just experiences that you had in South Africa
well,
for Eswatini?
on the way to work, there was South Africa, which is the office building, but then we also drove to Swaziland, Eswatini, which is where the transmitter site was. And on our way to work, we would drive through a game park every day. So we would see zebras, wildebeest, except they called them zebras and wild beasts over there. And there would be warthogs, and then they said there were giraffes there, but we would drive there for I was there for 2 weeks the first time. We never saw one until the very last day as we were leaving. We saw the giraffes like right at the end of the gate as we were leaving. And that was really cool. I got to go out and get close to them. And like, I did not realize how muscular giraffes were. Like, I just always pictured them as like, skinny creatures, but like the muscles you could see. And then also Zeke and I both went bungee jumping while we were out there. There was these old cooling towers of like a power plant, and they just built a bridge in between them, and then they attached a bungee there, and you get to jump down, and it's like a 100-meter height, and then you drop down, and that was a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome.
They even gave us a certificate afterwards.
You have successfully accomplished bungee jumping. Okay, one last question. What was the strangest thing you ate while you were in Africa?
So I wouldn't consider it strange, but I ate ostrich and it was really good. It tasted like steak. But one of the weird things that they had, now that I remember, is they had these weird flavored cereals and milkshakes. There was like bubblegum flavored cereal and cream soda flavored cereal, cream soda flavored milkshakes, and they were just like these bright neon colors. Like, it just looked so fake. And oh, there was also milk, like bubblegum flavored milk, and I tried that too, which it was actually pretty good. But everyone that I've told that about just cringes whenever I say that. So
Yes, I remember the interns, we give them like a Google link and they can pour all their photos in there. And I remember seeing, I don't know which one it was. And I thought, how did you drink that? Because it does, it looks super fake. But yeah, Jacob, thanks so much for sharing. Super, super grateful for you and the work that you did at TWR. And you never know what the Lord will do. Maybe someday you'll be working with us again. But appreciate your time. You're welcome to stay on and listen to the rest. But if you have to go, I totally understand. Um, so next up is Miss Zoe Schmidt, and Zoe is a student at Cedarville University, and so she's gonna do the same thing that Jacob did and share a little bit with us.
Yeah, I'm Zoe. I am originally from Central Illinois, but yeah, like Jennifer said, I'm going to Cedarville University, studying computer engineering. I'm a junior. And yeah, so I learned about TWR actually through Cedarville. It's a Christian college, so a lot of times at their career fairs, they have a lot of like ministries and stuff. Not that I was really looking for ministry at the time, because to me it was like, the ministry stuff at the career fairs for all the MDiv majors and Bible majors, and like I'm looking for an engineering internship, you know. So I went and walked around so many times. I actually had one specific company that I was looking for an internship with, which is Sunset Solutions. Probably a lot of you know about Sunset Solutions because they're a TWR partner. So that's kind of epic. And so I was looking for them, ended up talking to them. And again, this was after I'd walked 3 loops around the career fair and had seen the TWR table 0 of those times. And then on my way out, a friend of mine was walking in and she was like, "Hey, I'm looking for the TWR table. Like, do you know where that is?" And I was like, "No, I've walked around this place like so many times and haven't seen a TWR table. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll help you go look for it." Um, so, and no joke, we turn around and it's like 2 tables away from where we're standing. We go and we talk to the people. I just remember whoever those 2 girls were that you sent to the table that day were gushers. And they just had such a beautiful like testimony about like TWR's mission and just like how they had interacted with it and just like their experience. I think both of them had been interns and were like working on becoming missionaries at the time. So yeah, I just remember standing there and just like hearing about it and like getting chills, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write my name down. And then yeah, so later, and it was a lot of just like me being like, oh, I'll like try this out, but I don't know if it's actually gonna happen. I don't know if it's actually gonna work out, and just being able to see like God keep moving and just like I don't know, it kept like the next step kept coming, and I kept like moving forward in the process, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is a God thing. Maybe this is like a good opportunity. So yeah. Um, and then I came to TWR internship. I was in Benin, West Africa, with Garth and Fiona Kennedy, who are super amazing. And I
True.
was working on a lot of different things. I helped one of our other interns with a ground conductivity sensor. I did random things just like with security cameras as well randomly, but like my main project was working on this remote control and monitoring system for the transmitters, just because there's so many consulting engineers that help work on the transmitter. Garth really envisioned like wanting to have an ability for there to be like a computer interface with which like those engineers overseas could see what's going on with the transmitter remotely. So yeah, I was working a lot on getting stuff set up to be able to do that. The first half of the summer is a lot of the electrical work of wiring up the remote controls to the signals we wanted. And then the second half of the summer was a lot of working on the computer programming aspect of it and creating the interface. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, definitely enjoyable and a challenge. Yeah, I also was involved in things like we had for the first half of the summer, there was Kids Club going on, which was just some of the SIM missionaries in the area were putting on just a club for the kids in the area, exactly what it sounds like. So a lot of just Beninese children coming for a little Bible study and games and such. And on Tuesday afternoon/evenings, we had the Fulani Boy Ministries. So The Fulani are like a mostly nomadic tribe in West Africa that often send their sons to live in the mosque while they travel with their herds. So we were ministering to those boys that were living in the mosque. And yeah, so those are some of the things I did. And
And the MK Bible study.
oh, yes, we also led a Bible study with the teenage MKs. We love them. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. What else am I supposed to talk about? I forgot.
What is something that maybe you learned, like a spiritual growth thing, or how God has been at work in you since then, maybe being involved in the Great Commission?
Yes. So many things. Definitely one of the biggest things that like God has been teaching me, really starting with the TWR internship and then continuing to even now still working on my heart, is just like the idea of like what I put like my confidence and like identity and worth in. Just because I have been a person like throughout my life to put a lot of stock in like my intellectual ability and my ability to like understand and like know things. Just like not even necessarily grades, but just like my own understanding. And so going to TWR, there was a sense in which I knew, oh, I'm going to be challenged. I'm not going to like know how to do everything right away, but like I'll be able to figure it out. And then I got there and ministry is hard and culture shock is hard. And just learning how to do an internship when I had never done something like that before was hard. And I think it's just been it was a lot of just God tearing down my confidence in myself, which just through a lot of like being overwhelmed for a lot of the beginning of my internship and just feeling like such anxiety about doing well. And I remember like talking to Garth about it and Garth just telling me like, okay, but like if you want to have like confidence in like your decisions, like you need to realize that like your confidence is found in God, like not in your own abilities. And just like that really hit me. And just like since then, like throughout the internship, it was huge, just like being able to realize that like as much as I want to like understand what I'm doing and as much as I want to do well in my job, which is honorable and like glorifying to God, I have to realize that like that's not my identity and like that's not what should give me confidence. Like my identity in Christ should give me confidence. And just like that's a lot of what I learned. Also, just it gave me such a huge perspective about like what the Bible means about like God being a God of the nations and like wanting to bring all the nations to him, and just like the idea of the global church, which I feel like growing up in the church in America, like I've heard about since I was a little kid, but like there's something about actually going there that like made that so much more real, I think. And just like realizing that like these people are halfway around the world and in such a different context than me, but still like worshiping the same God. And then also seeing so many people that weren't worshiping God and just having a heart for them too, and just like wanting for them to get it, like yeah, and just wanting them to get it. Just it made the nation seem closer and has just put them on my mind more than ever. And yeah,
what are oh, go ahead.
Yes, now ways Great Commission, yes. Yeah, I was so much has happened recently too, just that's been big God things, and just how I've been viewing my call to the Great Commission. So a few weeks ago, actually, there's this on campus, just this huge like call to worship. We worshiped for so long in chapel on one day, and then the next night our president was like, okay, like it's cool that like we worshiped from like 10 to like 7 p.m. on Monday, but like we can't do this every day. Like it was great, but like you guys, like why would we keep this to ourselves? Like you guys need to go out and like tell other people like about God. And we're like, epic. So a lot of us like those past few nights, went out to other campuses. I, through a series of events, didn't get to like go and evangelize on a campus because the campus we wanted to go to was a private campus and like very closed off. So it ended up, we didn't get to go, but we went and did like a prayer walk around the area. And a lot of my friends also went to Ohio State and evangelized, and just like, there's been such like just an atmosphere on campus recently that's been like thrumming with this idea of the Great Commission, and just like, it's been cool to like start like orienting our minds around that, especially as I'm a junior. There's just been so much talk coming out of that about like, okay, like post-graduation, like we want to not choose where we go just based off of like our profession. Like we want to like be able to go somewhere strategic for like the glory of God, to a city that like is lost, and just like, and because like I can find an engineering job anywhere, just that kind of thing. Yeah, I've also just been digging into my local church. I absolutely love Shawnee Hills Baptist Church. And yeah, I'm getting involved in children's ministry, which has been such a huge
That's awesome.
thing, and I've loved it so much. Yeah, and also just looking forward to this summer, even though I have a secular internship with Caterpillar. Me and my mom have had so many conversations about like, okay, like how can like you do ministry and how can we do ministry even in the midst of this. So I might get to go do stuff with my mom in ministry
Cool.
this summer, which would be super epic.
Awesome.
So yeah, just a lot of little things on my mind.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing, Zoe. Super proud of you for all that you are doing and all the hard work you put into your studies and caring about people. So, as always, we would love to have you back someday at TWR, but super thankful to have you here and sharing with my ministry partners. But yeah, thanks so much. Awesome. All righty. I am going to jump us back into my presentation. And again, thank you to Zoe and Jacob for joining. Can you all see my screen again? I hope. Can't hear you, but sure. All right, here we go. So, yeah, so interns, just kind of a overview real quick. So last summer we had, well, kind of going back a little bit, COVID summer, that was the summer before I came, they had 5 interns. So of course, small, they couldn't send anybody overseas. 2021, we had some people return who were supposed to go in 2020. So we had about 12. Last year, our number was more like 9. And so the people here, this collage here on the left, there's one person missing there, but those are the interns from last summer. And the collage over here on the right it's changed a little bit, but in 2023, we will have around 15, and that includes a spring and a fall intern. So it's been really cool to see how our efforts and our recruiting efforts and all the events that we've been involved in, and our partnership with the traveling team have brought more interns to us. So we're really excited about this new class of interns who are in the process of raising their support and joining the team for this coming summer. So yeah, that's just, like I said, one piece of my job, but then some other fun things that are going on. I'm gonna skip this because I want to make sure that we have time. So like I mentioned before, our Embark program, that is our kind of 6 to 12 month program. You may remember, if you were on my ministry update last year, we had a young man named Evan Johnson who was serving in Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. He had been a mechanical engineering major, and he went and served for 9 months after graduation. And so he finished his term with us in June, the end of June of last year. And I'm excited because I'm going to California next week, where he's from San Diego. And so I'm hoping that I will get to meet Evan for the first time in person, because everything we did was always on Zoom. So he returned home from the field, got married a month later. And so now I get to go and meet him and his wife in person for the first time. So we're going to have dinner together. So I'm really excited about that, because they have a calling to missions long term. So they're trying to figure that out. So looking forward to talking with Evan. But we currently have 2 embarkers, as we call them, doing MPD. MPD is Ministry Partnership Development, or that process of raising support. And so both of them are committed to serve for 6 month time period. Jacob's going to be working with our global content team here in Cary, North Carolina. He went to Huntington University and has a degree in radio broadcasting. I think he loves radio. He's passionate about it, and is looking forward to working with our team here. And then Jessie, she's originally from California and she studied journalism, and she's going to be serving with our Marcom team, which is marketing and communications in Bratislava, Slovakia. So looking forward to how God's just going to use their skills and allow them to learn and grow spiritually. And for Jessie, it'll be her first time ever going out of the country. So looking forward to kind of that stretching of a cross-cultural experience too. So just want to encourage you guys, if you think of it, to pray for Jacob and Jessie as they continue to raise support. It's a challenge to do as a young person who doesn't have a huge network. So yeah, I just am really thankful for them, and I am excited about what God is going to do in their lives through serving for 6 months with us. Another thing that came out of the last year. So in the fall of 2021, I went to an event in Orlando, Florida for missions mobilizers, right? People who are mobilizing and helping to send new missionaries. And I ended up connecting with this gal right here, if you can see that. Her name is Katie. And we got to talking, and she works for GoCore. Well, that initial conversation has now turned into a partnership with GoCore. And so this is something that is kind of now falling under my responsibility, which is fine. But GoCore is what I call a mobilization partner. So basically, we partner with them to list certain placements that are 2-year commitments. So in the past, TWR really hasn't had like what they call a midterm missions. And GoCore really focuses on young people. So people who are about to graduate from college, or maybe who have graduated quite recently, and they want to make a commitment to give their first 2 years of their career to the mission field. And so TWR, I got all the approvals that I needed to move forward with this partnership, but we are kind of doing a trial basis. We're listing 2 engineering positions on the island of Bonaire. So Bonaire is an island off the coast of Venezuela, and that is where we have a transmitting tower, which happens to be the largest AM transmitter in the Western Hemisphere. And so we're listing 2 engineering roles there, and kind of trying to see how this would all work, because it's a new partnership. So I've been working with Katie, and this is we were at a training back in August in Minneapolis, and imagine walking through the skyways of Minneapolis with an astronaut and 2 giant letters. We did try to go into a mall, and the security kicked us out. So that was kind of a fun little adventure. But we're excited for the opportunity. We do have 1 applicant with GoCore right now. And we're trying to set up we just got his application this week. So he's interested in serving as an engineer for 2 years. So we're looking forward to getting to know him and seeing if it would be a good fit. So they do a lot of the they list the placement, they do the initial phone calls, they do the initial screening, they apply through GoCore, and then GoCore sends them to us and says, hey, what do you think of this person? And we get to interview them, talk to them. They go through like psychological assessments with us, all sorts of different things. And then we get to decide ultimately if they are going to serve with us. But then we kind of send them back to GoCore for training on support raising and developing ministry partners before they go. And it's a really quick process. So potentially, if this young man goes through the process, like he could be on the field by October and be fully funded for 2 years. So it's a really quick process the way they do it, but we're excited about what it could look like to continue to partner with them. Another thing that happened in the last year is I got to go to West Africa. So as Zoe shared, we have a transmitting site there in West Africa, which is this is the aerial view. This is from on top of a tower. No, I didn't get to climb the tower. I was a little bit sad, to be honest, but we just didn't have time. And so this station in Africa, West Africa, has been there, oh gosh, I don't know how many years now, maybe 15 or 20 years. I think 20, and it's a completely diesel fueled transmitting tower. So all kind of self-powered. It's 330 acres, I believe. They grow cashews, they grow teak trees. He gives the local staff an opportunity to plant things on the land to grow food for their families. They're really passionate about serving the local community and giving them opportunities to make a living wage, and then they also sell the cashews and the teak wood as more income for the station, so, or for the transmitting tower, I should say. So yeah, I got to go for just over a week. It was a quick trip, 2 days of travel on either end, and was able to meet Garth and Fiona, who Zoe mentioned. They are South African, and they are missionaries there in West Africa. And they have been there, they've been with TWR now for about 20 years. Fiona is a doctor, so she does a lot of work in the AIDS community, and serving in that way. And yeah, they are really passionate about the people there, and like Zoe mentioned, doing more than just working at the station and at the tower. You know, they want to be involved in local ministry, and taking care of people, kind of hands-on, boots on the ground ministry as well. So this picture here on the right is at the market, and so where this biker is here, this whole, it goes all the way down. I mean, it's just massive, and it just, yeah, one of the poorer countries in the continent of Africa. So and then this picture over here, I mean, I could literally do this whole talk just on my trip to Africa, so I had to pick just a couple of pictures, but this one right here is very close to where slaves were put on ships, and sent out for the from the African slave trade. So we got to do, this was in the city where the airport was, and we got to do like a tour of like kind of the process of the slave trade in that area, which was really just humbling and eye-opening and weird feeling, I guess is the best way that I can say it. But just really interesting to see, like, we walked the paths that slaves would have walked. So it was just really, really interesting to see what that process looked like, and it being explained from an African himself as well. So I was really thankful to be able to go meet the team there, see what the interns had been working on. It was really helpful for me to be able to communicate to interns, you know, for instance, the 2 that are going this year, what life will be like there in West Africa for the summer. All right. Yeah, I do a lot of college campus visits, as you probably have figured out. I can't even keep track. Last fall, I was on campus at Moody Bible Institute. So the photo here on the right, you probably recognize Ellie Kitchen, Ellie Childs, if you're a Cornerstone person. And so she and her husband have been here back in the States from their service overseas. And so Ben, her husband, had a table for EPC World Outreach at Moody. And so I got to connect with them. So I was at Moody, and then I was in Pennsylvania. I was at Messiah University. That's these 2 photos. And then I was at Grove City College, Geneva College. I also last fall was at Liberty University, North Greenville University in South Carolina. This up here, this young man with the shirt that says Dallas, Texas, that was in Texas at LeTourneau University. So yeah, in January, I was back in Minnesota at University of Northwestern St. Paul. So it's been a lot of travel over the last year, but I've been really thankful that the Lord has allowed me to connect with people that I love and care about in those places. So pretty much someone actually at church the other day was like, you always know people where you're traveling. And I'm like, yes, the Lord has been kind that way. So it's been, although sometimes the travel for work can get a little overwhelming at times, I'm really thankful that the Lord has kindly allowed me to reconnect with good friends as well. So not only do I travel, but I also get to coordinate other people working events for us. So tonight we have a couple of they're a TWR couple, an older couple, who are at Huntington University. I have a colleague who was a Cedarville grad. So a few weeks back, she was at Cedarville. I've sent other people to Liberty. So when I can find other TWR people who will go on my behalf, I try to let them do that so that I don't have to do the traveling all the time. All right. Urbana. So that was another big thing this year that kept me very busy through the fall planning for Urbana. If you're not familiar, Urbana is a very large missions conference geared for young people that is put on by InterVarsity. It's been going on since the late 1960s. It happens every 3 years. Of course, because of COVID, this year, I think it had been 4 years. So it was like it almost missed a whole cycle of college students. But it was definitely smaller this year. We weren't sure what the attendance was going to look like. I know in the past it's been, gosh, anywhere between 12 and 15,000 students. I think this year it was more like 5 or 6,000. So definitely on the smaller scale, but we're still trying to analyze whether or not this is something that TWR wants to continue investing in. But it was good, at least for me, to be able to experience Urbana. I had never been before. This year it was in Indianapolis. And I had these 3 lovely coworkers here on the left who were able to go with me. So if anything, it was really great fellowship with colleagues. But we did have a lot of really great conversations with students and other ministries and missions organizations. If you're a Cornerstone person, you recognize Matt Grimm and his son Noah. They were there, so it was really fun to connect with them and hear from Noah as he's trying to discern his next steps. This gentleman here at the top, his name starts with an O, but I can't remember what it is. But he came and stopped by and said, "I used to work for TWR India." So it was really cool to hear from him and like he worked for our national partner, TWR India. So it was just neat to connect with him. And then this gal here, she now works with a Jewish ministry in the Middle East, but she grew up listening to TWR broadcasts in Jordan. So again, it's like you go to these events and you're not sure what the interactions are going to be like. And then you meet these people who grew up listening to TWR broadcasts, or you meet someone who used to work for one of our national partners overseas. So it was a unique experience and an exhausting one, to be sure, but I'm thankful that we were able to be there and have some really cool interactions with students. All right. I'm watching our time because I want to try and keep us at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go real quick through this, moving into kind of some just general TWR things. One of the things that has been challenging for our interns is that process of raising support or developing ministry partners. And so actually just today, as you'll see from the date, this article was published on our website. So if you just Google or type in twr.org/newsroom, you'll be able to read this article, because we have developed a project fund for the interns. Let me rephrase this. It's a project fund for donors to give to help support interns who are struggling with raising their support. So it's not going to replace them raising their support, but it's going to be a supplement or an aid. So let's say an intern has tried really hard and they get close to the deadline and they're still short some funds, then we want to be able to say, hey, we're going to help you get across the finish line and make sure that you can participate in your internship. We never want an intern to not be able to come because of not being able to raise their full support. Now, it's different if they don't even try, but if they've put in the work and they've done what we've coached them to do, then we want to have this fund developed. So if you're interested in giving to the next generation, again, you can literally Google TWR support fund and it will come up and you can give. And it's just a big pool, and it's only specifically for interns. So that's been exciting. That was something that I worked on this year to help make sure that we can keep our interns sustained through the process. Couple other things. Obviously, we know that these 2 things have been pretty significant on a global scale in the past year. So Ukraine and Russia, obviously we just came, I think, what was it, February 24th was the 1-year date. And actually kind of a cool story really quick is Jacob, one of our embarkers, who I mentioned before, he learned about TWR on the day that the war broke out in Ukraine, because he was at a missions fair. The same event that's happening tonight was that day last year at Huntington University, and we had staff there, and Jacob was sitting watching the news, And my colleague Mark walked up next to him and they struck up a conversation, and Mark told Jacob about TWR, and given all that was going on around the world, Jacob was like, yeah, I really want to be involved in this. So random aside, but thought I would share. So we do still have broadcasts that are going to Ukraine and Russia. We had people at the outset who were like in people's basements recording things by candlelight to be distributed. It's just been crazy to see how the Lord has continued to use media in the midst of war. And again, like, it's not like we can send a missionary necessarily to those places, but mass media has the possibility, or it is possible to reach people with mass media. And then, of course, recently the earthquake at the Turkey and Syria border, just the like extreme devastation. So our national partners there are working hard to create like crisis content and like speaking hope to people who are just in like the most unimaginable circumstances. So ministry continues to happen in the midst of those really difficult things. So we're really grateful that we can do that through media. So please continue to pray for those things. Okay, one thing I just did want to share with you guys, because this is a part of our ministry that I just think is so incredible, and they're about to start a new project. And so I just wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more. TWR Motion is our visual arts or visual media branch, if you will. They function kind of on their own. They're fully supported missionaries. They are, their whole ministry is funded like through fundraising on their own. But they literally illustrate and animate visual content that's used by church planters overseas. And as of right now, they have done 2 big projects. One is called Share the Story. And that was a 20-episode series from creation, fall, redemption, resurrection, the whole narrative of scripture in 20 episodes, illustrated and animated for people from a Muslim background. And so that's been translated, I think now into 9 or 10 different languages. They did another series called Progressing Together that was geared towards people in the Arab world who have questions. And so each episode is a testimony from someone who has converted to Christianity, but it's instead of, a real person talking, it's been illustrated and animated. Well, they just embarked on their second Share the Story project called, it's called Share the Story, but it's for people in a Buddhist context. So a lot of my colleagues from TWR Motion went to Thailand in January. And so I wanted to share with you just this little video from them about their experience and what they learned and how they're going to be getting ready to use that to create the content for the next series. So really quickly, I'm going to have to reshare here. All right. Here we go.
The big goals of the trip were to obviously build relationships with the AMI team and others in Thailand and revise the scripts. Also capturing all kinds of different video content and art research. Going around to temples, talking to artists, trying to get a feel for what Thais enjoy, and coming back and getting started on a style guide.
Leading up to this project, I was thinking that we could pull different elements of Buddhist imagery and Buddhist art to kind of inform the style. But one thing that we learned in country is we need to stay away from Buddhist imagery as much as possible. There's a lot of meaning within a lot of the symbolism there that really can't be separated from Buddhism.
A highlight from the trip, one of the many, I think. I loved being in the busy street market environments. They were just so vibrant and full and interesting.
I think my highlight was just getting to meet the AMI team.
Meeting the church planners we were working with, getting to meet everybody.
Getting to interact with and meet our partners.
Getting to be in person, you get to see their hearts for the gospel.
Getting to hear stories about how God is at work.
And hearing some of their stories about local Thai believers and just how they came to faith.
The life transformation stories are pretty much always the highlight for me.
And just the way that shows that God's preparing the hearts of Thai people for the gospel and how we get to be a part of it. It's pretty exciting.
Get to go to church with them and see their church life and get to hear the people sing to the Lord.
And a close second is the amazing food of Thailand.
Thai food is amazing.
Out into the rawness.
My favorite food was the papaya salad.
Thai tea.
Mango sticky rice ranks pretty high.
My new favorite thing in Thailand is khao soi. That northern Thai soup.
Apparently we're having a progressive dinner until our money runs out.
One takeaway from Thai Buddhist culture was discovering the different worldview that they have, different from mine, and how that affects how they meet Jesus.
Something that surprised me about Buddhism, specifically within Thailand, is how it's really intertwined with animism.
How much animism influences the daily lives.
Almost every place that you go into, there's a spirit house in front of it. They put offerings out to the spirits to hopefully like appease them.
They would put drinks as an offering. One drink in particular, which I understand to be very Thai, is the Fanta drink.
So I was just really surprised to see how much money is involved in the practice of Buddhism. Like they're essentially paying for merit.
So there were a lot of fun moments, but for me, probably the highlight was getting a very special kiss.
It was pretty fun to meet an elephant.
Of all the places we explored, one that stands out to me is the Hidden Temple. It was just very serene and beautiful.
Going to a local printmaking artist shop and watching him work and seeing some of his tools and his prints and just seeing his perspective as a Thai artist on wanting to put Thailand on the map.
Over and over again, I'm just struck with how much people must have been praying for us the whole time we were there.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been following along with our journey. We really felt the Lord's presence and protection over us.
Now that we've been able to travel to Thailand to meet the Antioch team as well as other Thai believers, I'm just so encouraged by the network of partnerships that they have throughout the country. Like this will be a tool for so many different people throughout Thailand and even beyond that.
I'm excited for the potential this project has for helping people meet Jesus and know him better. Having been there in person has made it feel much more real.
You don't want this very special snack?
No, I appreciate the offer.
All right. So hopefully that just was an encouragement to you to know that like people with all different gifts and abilities and skill sets are using their talents for the gospel. Like I said, Motion is one of the coolest ministry parts of TWR, I think, and I'm excited for them. Their Share the Story series for the Buddhist context is supposed to take about 2 years to complete. If you're interested in following along with their journey, go to twrmotion.org. You can sign up for their newsletters. But yeah, just really encouraged by the work that they're doing. As usual, I want to share a listener story. There's so many stories that we can share about people who have come to know Christ, but Just pray that this is an encouragement to you, that people all over the world are still hearing the gospel and there's still work to be done. So this is from a young man in Istanbul. And he said, one day I took a taxi and I noticed that the taxi's radio was turned on. I was surprised because the taxi driver was listening to a frequency that preached about Christianity. What was told in the program touched my heart. The speaker explained the wrongs of trusting man and said that we should trust in God and that he who trusts in God will never be shamed. He explained that we are not alone and that God is on our side for good in every situation. He was telling me everything that my heart needed. And when I came to the place where I was dropped, a voice in me said, give God a chance. After that, I listened to your program for months. Jesus Christ changed all my thinking. He changed my heart and my life. I was forgiven and saved and am now a believer in Jesus Christ. So yeah, continuing to hear lots of stories like that all over the world, which is just such a gift. So I'm going to wrap it up here because I know it's after 8 o'clock. But I just want to give a couple praise and prayer reports. So praises for, we have several missionary couples or singles who are raising support and nearing their funding to go overseas or to serve with us in Cary. So we're super excited about the growing teams. My team in particular, the mobilization team, we got a new colleague recently who's working part-time. She's helping to do like digital recruiting and lead generation. So that's been, even since she started, we've seen a huge uptick in applications. So that's been a huge encouragement. Praise that we have 15 interns already this year, and potentially even one more in the works. Praise God for the many opportunities that I've had to travel and engage with people at Christian colleges. And then also praise God for the new GoCore partnership that I talked about. Some just quick prayer points. Please be praying for the preparations for our summer interns, my own preparations to lead them well, but also for their preparation as they're finishing school, as they're raising support, and also the embarkers that are raising support as well. And if you have an interest, I just will say this, if you have an interest in giving to an intern or an embarker to just encourage them in their journey, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to send you the contact information or the webpage where you could give for any of our interns or embarkers. But most of all, just be praying for them as they prepare. I would appreciate prayers on Monday. I travel to California. I'll be at 2 different universities, Biola and California Baptist. And then also I have a ministry partner and a friend from college who lives out there. So, and then I'll also be seeing Evan, our former embarker. So appreciate prayers for travel. I get a little overwhelmed sometimes with work travel, but again, praise the Lord that I get to connect with people that I know and love while I'm out there. Trust in God for his provision. So one of the things, and I know I've mentioned this in some of my newsletters, is just living where I live here in North Carolina, unfortunately, is expensive. And I've seen a 30% increase in my rent in 2 years. So it's just been a little bit of a stressful time when it comes to finances, but God has always provided. So just pray that I would continue, the prayer, Lord, help my unbelief, that he would continue to provide, because he always does, but I need to trust that. And then also just lastly, so my pastor at my church here in Durham, he has a ministry called 2 Journeys, where he makes available all of his content that he, like his sermons, the things he's written, he makes it available on his website and his app called 2 Journeys. And TWR is always looking for new media partners. And so I was able to help facilitate a meeting between our media services department and not Andy, my pastor, but the guy who runs his ministry, like his, I don't know, executive director. So they had a meeting last week, and there's talks of a partnership between them. So just be praying for that, because Andy's got such solid biblical content. And if it can be broadcast or posted on our websites and our platforms for many more people to see and hear, I think would just be so phenomenal. So anyway, those are some prayer and praise reports. I just want to say, per usual, thank you for all of your support and prayers and encouragement over the past, well, really like 3 years since I started the whole journey to TWR, which is wild to think about. But thank you for your support and encouragement. I could not be here without you. And yeah, I just want to give you guys the opportunity. Again, I know that this has gone 5 minutes over. That's not that bad. But does anybody have any questions about TWR, about my job, anything in particular that I can answer? If not, that's okay.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Hi, it's Nancy Lawton,
Hi,
and
Nancy.
I'm a traveler. I love to travel, but you mentioned that traveling's hard for you. Can you explain how so that we might be more helpful in prayers? Is it what you leave behind that isn't done yet and you have many things on your mind, or is it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't mind traveling. I think it's the anticipation of like getting everything ready. And plus, when I'm traveling for work, I have to take like a whole suitcase full of like literature and giveaway items and banners and all the stuff. So just the preparation to, if I was just like hopping on a plane to go see a friend, that's not as big of a deal. But knowing that there's like, TWR is paying for me to go and do these things, it's like there's a little more pressure, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes doing it alone can be hard because then you're just like sitting in a hotel room at times by yourself. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
It is helpful, and thanks for explaining it.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. All right. Well, again, I just want to say thank you guys for being here, for listening. I'll be sending the recording out in an email. Well, probably not today, but maybe in the next week or so. So the recording will get sent out, and you're welcome to share it if you know someone who wasn't able to join. So yeah, thanks guys.
Hey, love you, kiddo.
Love you, Dad.
See ya.
Jennifer.
Thank you guys.
Great job,
Good
Jennifer.
to see all of you. Take care.